welcome everybody. Welcome back to our Journal Club. Today we have the honor to have with us Professor Chieffo and Dr. Sharmaine Thiru from Leeds University, United Kingdom. Today we are going to discuss a very important topic. Indeed, there is a EPCI statement published in European Art Journal, a paper entitled Overcoming Professional Barriers Encountered by Women in Interventional Cardiology, an EPCI statement. So we will start with the paper presentation as usual, followed by the comment of our expert and EPCI president-elect. I hope you will enjoy our session and feel free to ask questions and make this Journal Club interactive after the paper presentation. So, Sharmaine, over to you for the presentation of the paper. Okay. And I want to add, before starting, that Sharmaine is a part of APCI. Then maybe she can introduce the program as well better. APCI program about with the mentor that is Professor Chieffo. And I also would like maybe to know about more about this figure and potential career development later on after the presentation. Sharmaine, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to present at this evening's Journal Club. So to date, there have been many articles published regarding the gender gap in interventional cardiology. The current issues include underrepresentation of women working as healthcare providers in interventional cardiology, with very few reaching senior leadership, academic positions, acting principal investigators, and active involvement in company advisory boards. Recent data suggests a small but steadily increasing proportion of female members of the European Association of Percutaneous Coronary Intervention. Nevertheless, under the European Society of Cardiology, EAPCI remains the organization with, by far, the lowest female representation at the member, but also at board level. What are the barriers for women to pursue an interventional cardiology career? Firstly, the lack of availabilities of opportunities in a male-dominated culture. Secondly, lack of female role models and mentors. Thirdly, radiation exposure, concerns about work-life balance, and lastly, the burden of high workload in light of family planning considerations. So I'll just break it down into each subheadings. 60% of medical students are actually female in Europe. But however, subsequently, only 30% end up holding cardiology departmental director roles. Only 1 in 10 lead authors of cardiovascular trials published in high-impact journals are female authors. And there is an impression of no positions being available in interventional cardiology. And also 75% of industry payments are made to male physicians. Because of the imbalance in leadership positions, there is also a lack of female mentors or role models. Male role models are seen as more admirable than female role models. However, positive role models are so important in the professional development of and in influencing the career choices of female trainees and are needed to demonstrate that it is possible to become a female interventional cardiologist in a leadership position. With regard to pregnancy and family management, there is still a social stigma in some European countries that women should be the person in charge of childcare. They are forced to accept the compromise of a professional role below their capabilities, and there is still that mindset that career is incompatible with motherhood, so do not have children. In the Italian gender CAT study, women were more likely to be aged less than 40 years, and childless compared with men. Particularly for these young women, pregnancy and breastfeeding in this environment are considered problematic. With regard to radiation exposure, there is poor familiarity with data among colleagues and the inconsistency in recommendations about radiation limits or the right to work in environments with occupational radiation exposure during pregnancy in different countries. However, occupational radiation exposure of the fetus during pregnancy is very low, less than 0.1 millisievert, when measured under a protective lead apron, especially if the woman is also behind a table shield. Data suggests that women can continue to work in interventional cardiology during pregnancy. With regard to on-call concerns, women are more impacted and cope differently with on-call work, as women are frequently solely or primarily responsible for household management. So what are the solutions? The leading innovative measures to reach gender balance in research, the Libra project, to overcome research barriers, increases the representation and participation of women in leadership positions. The Athena Swan Charter, which was developed in 2005, is a framework internationally used to support and transform gender equality within higher education and research. This charter is to encourage the advancement of women's career in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine. Lastly, the PADRIS, Public Data Analysis for Health Research and Innovation Program, created a procedure to advance the sex equality of the principal investigator. In terms of barriers to opportunity, the EAPCI now equally allocates fellowship grants among male and female candidates to allow equal chance in fellowship positions, and there are incentives to increasing female-to-male ratio. There is also a constant monitoring of the review process to ensure that it's blinded and a more diverse process. The EAPCI, ESC, and Women as One are pivotal to bridge the gap between these role models and those who can benefit from their wealth of advice and mentorship or training opportunities. This will inspire a young generation of female doctors with successful case examples of women who contributed to the success of the discipline in both research and practice. With regard to concerns regarding radiation exposure, the EAPCI position statement was developed in collaboration with the EHRA, EACBI, ESC, Regulatory Affairs, Women as One, providing information regarding effective radiation protection measures and adequate monitoring. For example, increasing the distance of the operator from the X-ray source, frame reduction, use of optimal views with less radiation scatter, use of lead equivalent protective garments, thyroid collar or lead glasses. There also should be higher flexibility and adaptability for mothers or primary caregivers, and flexibility to be relocated to other tasks if one wishes to temporarily withdraw from cath lab activities. The importance of flexible shift schedule during maternity should be highlighted, and there should be opportunities for shared parental leave. So interventional cardiology still ranks at the bottom among other specialties in terms of female representation, and very rarely the proportion of women in the interventional cardiology arena exceeds 20%. What are our future directions? We can increase the attractiveness of leadership positions for female cardiologists, encourage flexible working time, increase mentorship programs and female role models, standardize parental leave, and education regarding radiation safety. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sharmaine, for the paper presentation and in summary all the aspects, all the problems and solution of that the woman can face during their entire career. So now I would like to ask Professor Chieffo a general comment about this paper statement, but in general about the topic. and then we have some questions for you as well. Thank you.
So thanks, first of all, to have done this journal club dedicated to this topic. Clearly, it's a topic that I feel a lot. It's a very important topic because, as Sharmaine was mentioning, and from 60 to 65% of medical students are females. So we have to find a way to encourage women to enter into cardiology and in our subspecialty, because otherwise we will have a lack of staff in interventional cardiology, because numbers are numbers. So this is a topic not only for women, but for all the community. We have to encourage them to enter. And by the way, we should make their life easier, of the life that maybe some of us had. And this can be also not only on sex, but also in gender. Wherever there is a discrepancy in access to education, to training, this can be also extrapolated to them. So we work on this APCI document, trying to find also a solution, because the problem is there, numbers are there, they were shown. The point is, how can we improve? And there were some simple solutions that maybe can help. And by the way, Sharmaine is one of the participants, and there was launched a program by APCI, which is a coaching program that allow people that cannot travel, because we do have a fellowship program, but we understood that sometimes, especially women, as Sharmaine, because Sharmaine did not mention, but she has a kid, she's young, she's doing a PhD, and she has also a family to take care of. And the point is, how can we ensure them a correct training? And so that was the idea, to have a coaching program where virtually, on distance, we can have a one-to-one mentor to mentee, and Sharmaine is my mentee, by the way, and trying to encourage them to keep working while trying to find their balance with their family, working on education, on research, sharing cases. And this can be another formula that we can have always to try to overcome barriers. At least this is my personal vision. So at the end, this is not only a problem of women, it's a problem of the community. And as a community, we have to be all together trying to encourage people to enter into our field in interventional cardiology. And when we do train them, because that's another very important point that we can see in all Europe, but worldwide, that we train these amazing, talented young women, but what happened then? Sometimes they are stuck in their early mid-career and there is no progression, and they are discouraged. So most of them, despite having had good training and being very talented, they just quit. They go into general cardiology. They go a lot into private practice, especially outside of Italy. They quit their willingness to pursue an academic career again. So the loss is not only in the one entering into the subspecialty, but also in retaining them in our subspecialty. And again, is a problem of numbers, and we do need talented people, women or not. This is apply also to young men, to stay in our subspecialty and grow our community. Just to give you a number, for example, from my university, the top specialty that was chosen last year was not cardiology, was dermatology and plastic surgeon. So there is something that we have to do to make our subspecialty good also for the young people and to keep them in our subspecialty.
Thank you. Yes, indeed, this program is quite inspiring, because you can have the chance to meet the very super expert around the world, staying and be in contact with them, being at your home. This is fantastic. So I would like to ask to Sharmaine her experience, also how is in UK in her cath lab, if is working, how many women are working there, and actually also I'm interested how you applied to this program.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, I've been very fortunate because throughout my training, I've had excellent mentors, both male and female mentors, to guide me through my trajectory. When I did want to apply for interventional cardiology, I was advised against it, again, for the same reasons mentioned by Prof, that, it might not be a suitable career to balance work and family. But because it was my passion, I pursued it, and I had a lot of support from my consultants in both Manchester and Leeds. In terms of your second question, in Manchester, there are 2 female interventionalists, and in Leeds, there's 1 female interventionalist. So it's still very, underrepresented, and it's not well balanced. Lastly, in terms of the mentorship program, I'm really grateful. I have such a great mentor. And even though you're in Italy, you're always accessible whenever I have any problems, day or night, weekends. She's there for me to provide me with advice, both, with regard to my interventional trajectory, my research trajectory, my future aspirations and goals, and how, how I'm able to balance that. And the only way I am able to, progress quite smoothly so far is because of the support. And also you learn by example and learn from people's mistakes and guidance from your peers.
Thank you. Very interesting to know other world, other countries, how they work and differently, and your experience as well. So now I would ask to Prof. Chieffo, which is the right recipe, the right formula to progress in the career, which is the mix, between be a good clinical doctor, be a researcher, work with the industry, work in the society. Which is your message to the young fellow? Which is in your opinion, the most important thing?
I think the biggest thing is resilience. This is my favorite word, resilience. So you have to be resilient. In all the steps of my career, I had obstacles. I was lucky because my mentor was Professor Colombo, and all of you know, how he is. It was such a huge mentor, and looking at him working in the car lab, and in the meantime having ideas and mixing the car lab every day with new ideas, what we can do next, what we can do to improve our patient care. Give me a lot. But however, despite that, clearly you will have obstacles in all the different phases of your life. But just envision what you want to be and where you want to go, because again, not everybody wants to achieve the same careers, and we have to respect it. We have to respect that people can want to just to have, not to have it all. That's fine. But the point is that never stop, hard work, and work really hard, but don't forget. And when you rise, lift the others, because that's another important point. So resilience, work hard, network. And if you can, and you are rising, lift other people up, because that's very important. You have to give back what you received. I think that's the most important things that every of us have to keep in mind.
Thank you, very inspirational. So now I can see some hands are raised. So please, Giulia, over to you if you want to join.
Thank you, Marco, and thank you to Sharmaine and Professor Chieffo for this brilliant presentation and really good advice for not only every woman but also every young person that would like to rise his career. But I have one question to Professor Chieffo. Many EAPCI activities are directed to interventional cardiologists. What do you think about raise awareness to this problem and also all the possible solution in medical students, the step before, just to teach all the young people, all the women, that they can reach everything they want to reach. Also, the most tough work as our work.
This is a very good comment. I mean, I'm very much into the young people, because I really think they are our future, and I really think that you have to give back to the youngest. I mean, this is the people that are going to lead, and we have to help them to get there in a smooth way. I mean, we'll all learn, and honestly, I mean, despite the good experience, I would like to have younger people even a better experience than mine. So that's very important. We can take into consideration what, for example, the British Society of Interventional Cardiology is doing, because they do have a medical student involved. In EPCI, we still do not have medical student involved, but I think that's a very good idea. There is exactly something I would like to propose when I get to be in my presidency years, to have some medical student involved in some of the committee, because I work every day with my medical student, and honestly, I learn a lot from them. And I think it can be not only them learning how to do all the steps in the good way, but also to have ideas coming from them. So that's a very good idea. And by the way, Julia, it's exactly what one of the things that are in my mind. I think we have to get there, and we should involve them also in scientific society. Absolutely, I agree with that.
Yes, because every day I speak to my youngest colleagues in the early year of their careers, but even if they are at the first year of residency, they already know that interventional cardiology could be so tough. So they say, no, I don't even want to try. But they should try, should have the possibility to understand our job and all our possibilities and achievements that, for example, EAPCI and many interventional society are trying to improve for all the young people and also women.
I mean, it's interesting. It's also up, on us, because I think that we can engage people, being inclusive. That's the point. I have to say that in my lab, I have a lot of women. I mean, the two students in the Master of Interventional Cardiology are women. Mm-hmm. So 2 out of 2 are women. We do have women medical students. I mean, I have one medical student I'm very proud of, Julia, who is now doing her Erasmus in Ulster. So clearly, when they see a woman doing that, Julia, they are going to make it. I really think that there are men that are very supporting, and there are a lot of examples on that. But seeing and looking to a woman's face, make them feel, I think, a little bit more comfortable. So for the one of us who made it, or are in more apical position, or are in position that can help them, I think that this can help them to join. Because my personal experience in my place is that we do have women in the CalLab, by the way. Having said that, clearly we have to help anybody, so women and men. Whoever wants to join and to work, we have to give them the possibility to raise and make it. That's the point. So women role models help a lot. Also, for example, in live cases. I mean, that's very important. Live cases, so talking about scientific society and congresses, for example, that's another point. Just to mention, the point was raised also in European Society of Cardiology. It was published and is publicly available, the new rule from European Society of Cardiology. They ask in any meeting to have some kind of equivalence. So they want to have also a higher representative of women in each session in the scientific document again, we are asked to have, if not an equal, a good representation of women in scientific document, in guidelines again. It has to be balanced in congresses, and I think that's the way to go. I mean, I understand that the famous pink quote is something that people do not like, but in a way or in another, we have to progress. So I think that what was proposed by ESC, and we already did in APCI, by the way, it's something that can help. And again, seeing more women help women to join, that's for sure.
Fantastic. So, Federica, I saw your hands on. So please.
Good evening. Thanks, Professor Chieffo, and thanks, Sharmaine, for this interesting topic. I have a very practical question. I am pregnant at the time, and I work in a public hospital. And as you know, in Italy, as soon as I knew I was pregnant, they told me I could not enter in the cath lab. As soon as I finish my breastfeeding time, so we're talking about more than 1 year out of the cath lab. I'm very happy. I'm excited about this pregnancy, and I'm trying to read, to watch cases, to inform myself. But, you know, at this time of my career, going out of the cath lab for more than 1 year is really a problem. And so my question is, what is the situation in other European countries and in worldwide? Of course, you may know, and what we can do if there is the possibility to stay safe in the cath lab. I don't know, maybe not in the first 3 months, or in some period, reducing radiation exposure, or during breastfeeding. In what time we can say women, okay, you can stay safe in the cath lab while you are pregnant?
So there have been different publications where we were mentioning the different European community, also worldwide. Unfortunately, Italy, as some other countries, is very restrictive. And there is a European law that indeed says that theoretically, even if during pregnancy with a good control, you could be in the cath lab. However, in Italy, it's not like that. They did not get that European law and are applying our own Italian law. Then how to move from there? I mean, it's a long path, but maybe it's a path that we should go through. Maybe national society could help on that. I mean, I don't know. It's a good question to pose to the leader of national society to work on that, because you can use a European law on that. And there was a nice publication that Sharmaine was mentioning that was proposed by EPCI together also with ERA and other working groups, because this is not only a topic for interventional cardiologists, but it's a topic for electrophysiology, is a topic, for example, for our imaging people that now are in the cath lab with us doing echo guidance in our structural procedure, is a problem of radiologists. So it's safe to be in the cath lab during pregnancy if you are properly protected and controlled. However, in some countries, you can do that. In other countries in Europe, you cannot. And in Italy, so far, we are not allowed to be in the cath lab. And next step maybe would be to try to change that law. But so far, it is not possible.
Thank you.
So we have another question from Julia.
Yeah. So that's my student. That's Julia. Julia, speak.
You are on mute. If you are speaking.
You're still mute, I think. Yeah, you're mute.
Yes. Oh. Don't know. Maybe is working in the cath lab. Could be.
No,
no?
she's in Ulster.
Yes.
I will write. She will.
Okay. Okay. If anyone have other question, please feel free to ask directly or here, or just type in the chat. And
so may I pose you a question? So you are on the men on the on the talk. Which is your vision? Do you think that's quite provocative? I like it.
Yeah.
So, which is, you are a young man with all your issues in raising, because the problem is not only women, clearly it's for any young, talented cardiologist that want to join us. So which is your vision? Do you see there is an imbalance, and which is your solution to the issue, if there is an issue?
Okay, thank you for the question. So, yes, definitely. I have to be honest. This statement was put in the context of all the situation that I didn't have the situation so clear, and actually. Just looking the abstract, I can understand that all during the whole time and phase of the career of a woman, there are different problems, and that maybe a man could not have. So it's a point looking from the other side, the other point of view is quite interesting. So actually this paper raised over also to me some question and doubts, because there are a lot of problems during the path that maybe I did not even understand. So yes, I can see that there is definitely a imbalance, and my personal is that I don't see a difference in when I work in gender, but actually there are. So there is a lot of work to do to cover this gap, and I can so share the preoccupation about the radiation, as all interventional do, but and I think that over the time we have to find a solution for this problem, very for all of the staff that work in cath lab, and I think the research has to implement a lot, because we are just using this lead that is not maybe a super behavior. So in my opinion, we have to think about the devices that can protect us better, and also allowed in this way pregnancy working during this period. For example, I know there are some zero gravity leads that can help for professional risk. Also, robotic PCI could be another possibility, but still, I think this radiation exposure is something that all the community has to face in order to find solution.
But that's interesting, because we did the survey some times ago, and there was Piera Capranzano, the first author. Again, it was done by EPCI. And if you ask to a man, which do you think is the main barrier for women to enter into interventional cardiology, they cite radiation. If you ask to a woman, indeed, is lack of career, no? Of opportunities. Yeah. Because in reality, I think that if you talk in general to women, apart from the issue of being pregnant in that specific year, but by the way, if you lose 1 year, it's not a big deal, honestly. You can use that year, for example, to do research or to learn other things, or to do something in imaging, because if you want to be instructor, you have to know about imaging. So in the meantime that we change laws in Italy, I think that you can use that year to do also other things. In reality, the most felt barrier for a woman is not radiation, is the lack of opportunities. And that's interesting. Yeah. That each time we ask to a man, indeed, he thinks is radiation. But in reality, if you do a survey, is lack of opportunities. And by the way, I love the fact that you run a survey. Yeah. I think that's very important. And let's see which is the answer to that. And again, I think that especially addressing not only women, but also all the younger generation, because by the way, we did not touch that, the toxicity of some environment. Something that really bothered me is when clearly as a woman, I have a lot of this kind of conversation. I hear that some colleagues indeed had a very toxic environment and were very much discouraged to enter into the specialty of, and also some issue of harassment. And again, if we train all the young generation to be better leaders than, for example, my generation, because there is something they don't teach us in medical school, to be good leaders. And I really believe on that. So we have to train all the younger generation to be better leader than we are. And my hope is that training all the young, not only women, but also men, clearly, we can have less toxic environment, and this will help all the community, especially women, by the way, because they are more affected by toxic environment, but also all the community, including men.
Yeah, definitely. So here we have the Giulia question.
Okay, so now forse maybe my it's
yeah,
working
we
now.
can
you
hear
me?
Julia.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry, my microphone had died. So first of all, thank you, Professor, and thank you, Sharmaine, for the presentation this afternoon. And we have been talking about what we need to have a good career path. And you both have excellent career path. And Professor Chieffo, you've been training lots of residents and fellows into their career paths. On the other side, what do you think are mistakes that we should avoid in all stages? So as students, as residents, as fellows, to have a smooth and successful progression in our career, clinically, research-wise, relationship-wise, network-wise? What do you think? The question is actually for both at two different stages, but I would be interested in knowing both of your points of view. Thank you.
So thanks, Giulia. Grazie, Giulia. So on my side, I think first you have to understand what you want to be and where you want to go, because clearly it depends which are your ambition and aspiration, because that's very important. Clearly, there are people that are more prone just to learn the clinical work, people that are more into research, but this is up to us as mentors to try to understand which is your talent, because I really believe that everybody has his own talent. We have just to understand and help them to discover which is own talent. So on the student side, try to understand which is the specialty you like. Clearly, you cannot do this very early unless you are Giulia that decided at the third year of medical school that she likes cardiology, but in general, this is something that you do a little bit later. Then when you decide which is your specialty, work on that and try, I mean, you need to have also clinical activity, but indeed the years of medical school for me are very important to learn also to do also research and scientific activities, because it's time that you maybe don't have later on. So work with your mentors, find a mentor, find a sponsor, because mentor is different from sponsor, by the way. And with them, try to understand which are the area of interest that you do have. And on that, you start small, because you will start with the writing small abstract, then you will start in presenting your work, because it's something that has to happen step by step in order to allow you to have a smoother career. So be active. If you have ideas, propose your ideas, because we love to have ideas from younger people, and work more on your culture and knowledge of the work and of the topic, on the science, and clearly having also contact then later on patient, because then this, when you enter into specialty, you will have more hands-on activity. So that's what I would do. So have ideas, communicate your ideas, find your mentor, find your sponsor, and network at your level, because I have to say that it's so nice to see people that you grow up with getting in apical position, and this is a network that you have been creating in the last 20 years, for example, mine. So it's something that I always advise. Be global and communicate with others, because only communicating with all the people, you will have good ideas.
Thank you.
Sharmaine, which is your idea on that?
Well, I agree with whatever you said, but Julia, from my point of view as a trainee, once you've found that passion and you've decided on what you want to pursue, just see it through. There will be people that will help you, and there will be people that will say that you can't do it, but just push yourself. There will be ups and downs, but if you work hard and you persevere, we will achieve it. We will get to these sky stages and be successful. So don't let anything get in the way once you've decided on something. Just push through.
So we had a fantastic discussion about this paper and the topic in general. Actually, very open-eyed, and I am more consciousness about the problem that is a hot topic, and I think that having Professor Chieffo as the president-elect in the PCI is something could be very inspirational for a lot of young fellow, male and female. And so I would like to thank you, Sharmaine, for your presentation and participating in our Journal Club with your experience and direct experience from UK. And thanks again to Professor Chieffo to join us and to be so supportive of our initiative. I hope to host you again in future journal clubs, maybe also in our settings.
Yeah, sure. And hope finally we made it to EPCI, by the way.
Exactly. Finger crossed. So thank you, everybody, and see you in the next journal club. And good evening to everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you again.